As we are now during the 3 weeks between Shavuos B'Tammuz and Tisha B'Av, it's appropriate to think about, discuss what Yerushalayim really means to us and how one can and one should feel about not just that we're in exile, but the exile of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, from His dwelling place, from the Mokem HaShechina, the Beis HaMikdash. There's a Gemara in the end of Moed Katan, on Chav Ches Amid Beis. Gemara says that Rava asked the question, Rabbi Bamori. There seems to be a contradiction in Psukim. There's one pasuk that says regarding Ilshio that he's going to be v'ne'asafta al kivreisecha b'sholem, that he's going to die in peace. And there's another pasuk that says Vayor ayorim lamelech Yoshio, and they shot him. And on that the pasuk says is that Saul kukvara, is that he was pierced so many times they made him resemble. He looked like a sieve. So many holes from the arrows that were shot at him. So the Gemara says, possible answer is, Rabbi Bamori answered and he says, this is what Rabbi Yochanan taught us, is that when they said, when the pasuk says that he'll die in peace, he says he'll die in peace, and that was fulfilled because Shalichorav Beis HaMikdash b'Yomov, he didn't see the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. He died many, many years before the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. In his lifetime, the Beis HaMikdash wasn't destroyed. So you stop for a moment and think about it. How did he die? He died with arrow after arrow after arrow. Kekvora, his body looked like a sieve. Most painful, can you imagine the most painful death that you can possibly imagine? But that's considered bisholim? Is the Gemara satisfied with the answer? It's considered bisholim. We can say he died in peace because he didn't have to see the pain, didn't have to experience that sorrow of the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. It was a misa meshuna. As Chazal say that Yoshio's death was a death that was the most painful of possible deaths. 300 arrows, we're told. That's how his body became a kavora, became a sieve. But you want to know something? At the same point in time, the tsar that he would have felt, having observed and seen, witnessed the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, would have been far greater than that. We now have a little bit of an insight of what kind of tsar we should feel. The tsar, the pain that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have where the Shechina can dwell and rest, that the world can then recognize the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the chosenness of Klal Yisrael. That pain that we should feel is that tsar that Yoshio was saved from. Because we now know, we do now see that Churban bias, the destruction. The Medrash says that there's a pasuk in Hosea that they darshan v'hema ka'adam avru bris, and they like Adam that turned away from the covenant. The Medrash darshans v'hema is going to be about Klal Yisrael, and they are like Adam Arishon, that didn't follow the commandment of Hashem. And the Medrash goes on, v'hema ka'adam is Adam Arishon. He says, I put him into Gan Eden, and I gave him orders, and I gave him one mitzvah, And I then judged him that he should be expelled, and I sent him the kananti of Eicha, and I lamented. I said Ayeka about Adam. So he was in Gan Eden, and he was sent from Gan Eden because of his one sin, and because of that, the entire world from the beginning of time is the way it is today, always being Mesakein, the Chet of Adam Rishon from the beginning of time. Would have been in a Gan Eden for eternity if it wouldn't have been for that. Gerish and Vishiluach being expelled from Gan Eden. And the Medrash says that the same thing is Klal Yisrael. I said, I brought them into Eretz Yisrael, says the Medrash. The same thing similar to the pattern of Adam Rishon. They were brought into Eretz Yisrael. I gave them commandments. Vaytzaves b'nei Yisrael. And they went against that I commanded them. And I judged them in being expelled. Shenemar mi beisi agarshem v'dante osam b'shuluchim, and I sent them away from me. The kainanti aleim eicha yoshva badod, and lamented how the city of Yerushalayim is sitting by itself. You stop to think for a moment. Is that the Medrash? What the Medrash is telling us is Adam Orishon's expulsion from Gan Eden, and Klal Yisrael is being expelled from Eretz Yisrael, and the Galus that we're in is the same thing. It's one and the same. I judged Adam, went through the things with Adam, I put him into Gan Eden, I put Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael, I gave him a mitzvah, I gave Klal Yisrael a mitzvah, I expelled him, I expelled you, I took you out of it, and now Kadosh Baruch Hu says, Ayek, I lamented, and we lament today. It gives you a little bit of an idea, it gives you a little bit of a sense of what is it that we should feel, what is it that we should be thinking. As we're all sitting as comfortable as maybe we used to be, maybe a little bit less comfortable today. We're sitting here in America, but even if we're sitting anywhere else in the world, I think we've had a little bit of an awakening of where Klal Yisrael truly belongs and what we truly need. So we're missing HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence amongst us. As we daven every Shabbos, we daven every day. You know, we say, Yerushalayim ircha barachamim toshav. Do we mean it? How do we feel it? You know, we're going through these days. Maybe today, tomorrow, the next few days, the next few weeks. Yerushalayim ircha barachamim toshav. Notice, you know, it brings us back to Yerushalayim. You know, a Friday night. Stop to think of it for a moment. You know, it's hand in hand with Shabbos. L'chadoidi, we go through the poet goes through many stanzas that speak about the suffering and the pain that we should feel on Shabbos, but at the same point in time, understand that only with that can we have a true enjoyment of Shabbos. Mikdash melech er melucha kumitzi mitoich hafecha. You know, we say, arise, Mikdash melech, the sanctuary of the king, the royal city. Kumitzi mitoich hafecha, arise from the upheaval. Your Ravlach Sheves, it's already been so too long. Too long that already you Sheves, that you've dwelled, you've lived Be'emek HaBoch, in the valley of the weeping. Isnari me'ofa kumi, let's feel it, let's think about it. Isnari, arise me'ofa kumi, shake off the dust. Live shi bigdei sefarte chami. Of course, Korver al nafshi go'ola, draw near to my soul through all you did. Yad ben Yishai beis halachmi. It's oiri, kivarech kumi oiri. Wake up, wake up. We're talking to Yerushalayim. But we should feel it. We should want it. Kavoid Hashem alayich nigla. So that the glory of Hashem can be revealed. You know, we daven and our tefillas are replete. Our zmiris on Shabbos. Rachem b'chazdecha. Completely focused on a theme. That it's not just during the 3 weeks, it's year round. Let's concentrate on it now. And I think that the more that we can feel the pain, as Chazal say, that somebody feels the tsar in Yerushalayim, someone that feels the tsar, the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, it's going to be he that's going to be one that's going to be merit to see it being rebuilt. Our bracha and our tefillah is during these days. You see Bona HaMikdash, B'Sham Nosher Shir Chadash. During these days, is that we should take a bizoicha, we should pull merit to B'Sham Nosher Shir Chadash, that we should be able to sing, rejoice. Go up in joy and in singing when we go in the Shalosh Regolim, when we ascend to Yerushalayim. It's going to happen, and it only can happen if we really feel that suffering and that pain and that exile, ours, and the exile of Klal Yisrael and the exile of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Libi b'mizrach, our heart should be there, our tefillah should be there, and we should be zeichet our chodosh al tzion toyer, the niskach chulanu b'meheira la'oira is the new light, the light of Mashiach, the light of the coming of the Mashiach. We should be zeichet to that, and we should all be zeichet and merit to see the binyan Beis HaMikdash b'karav b'meheira yameinu. Amen.